That forest is known as Dremuchi. It means the untouched forest in Russian. The name says it all. Dremuchi is a pristine jungle at the far edge of Selinoyarsk, untouched by human hands. The forest is so dense that large units can't penetrate it, making it a natural defense. That's why Sokolov's research facility and Groznyj Grad were built here. But more to the point, what are you doing all the way out there? You're not thinking of abandoning the mission, are you? Get back to the north.
In the 2 years since Sokolov's asylum operation, I've spent all my time making preparations. And now is the time to show some results. Fox is a next-generation espionage organization designed to update us for 21st century operations that I propose to the CIA. Fox sends individuals who excel in espionage and special tactics on solo sneaking missions like this one. A next-generation unit that combines the skills of special forces units like the SAS and Green Berets with the know-how of an infiltration and espionage unit.
Military politics never was my strong suit.
What I'm trying to say is stealth. This is a stealth mission, crucial to the coming Cold War. The CIA director has always frowned upon Fox, but if this mission succeeds, Fox will be added to the CIA as an official unit. I intend to make Fox the leader in special operations. And to that end, this mission must succeed.
Right.
I'm counting on you, Snake.
Tell me, what's the advantage of a solo sneaking mission?
It's easier to go in undetected than with a group.
Exactly. And therein lies the entire reasoning behind this virtuous mission. This mission into Soviet territory is a violation of international law. If this gets out to the public, we'll be faced with an international crisis even greater than the one 4 years ago.
4 years ago, the U-2 crash.
Failure is not an option.
Not a problem. I'll get Sokolov out without them ever knowing I was here.
Hunters have known about camouflage since ancient times. But it's only quite recently, since the 18th century, that it's been applied to military operations. The first camouflage introduced to the military was a solid-colored uniform designed to blend in with the battlefield. It was really more of a protective coloring than true camouflage. Camouflage in the modern sense of the word wasn't introduced until the First World War. During that war, weapons such as aircraft, cannon, and warships were painted in camouflage colors. But it was almost never used to disguise individual soldiers. The widespread use of camouflage began in World War II. The Germans and the Russians in particular made active use of it in battle. Nowadays, with the Cold War raging, the Eastern Bloc has been hard at work developing all sorts of camouflage patterns. In the West, the French implemented it in their paratrooper corps, and SAS during the Wars of Independence in Indochina.
I never saw it used in Korea, though.
America has lagged behind other countries in incorporating camouflage. They're only just beginning to consider introducing it into certain units.
Why is that?
Apparently, there are those in the U.S. military who consider camouflage too passive a technique.
Morons.
You're telling me. But now more and more people are beginning to appreciate how useful and important camouflage can be. I'm sure the brass will see the light soon enough. I see you're using the Easy Gun. The Easy Gun is a silenced tranquilizer gun for special ops use, developed for Fox by the CIA's technology division.
A silenced tranquilizer gun? I don't see a suppressor on here.
Apparently, the tranquilizer rounds themselves are designed to suppress the sound.
Interesting. In other words, I won't have to worry about the suppressor wearing out on me, right?
That's right. It's also equipped with a laser sight, so that you can make accurate shots even at a distance. In addition, merely equipping the Easy Gun should have a positive effect on your camo index. I've even heard it helps you recover your stamina. Put it to good use.
Snake, be careful of that swamp.
What's dangerous about it?
It's a bottomless swamp.
A bottomless swamp?
Yes. The mud in that swamp is highly viscous. It will stick to your body like tar. It will be impossible for you to swim. If you get swallowed by the bottomless swamp, you won't be able to escape on your own. Once you sink down to about head level, you'll be trapped for good. Make sure you get out before that happens.
So, I have to make sure I don't sink too far. Got it.
Snake, wait.
There's more.
Yes.
What?
Crocodiles.
Crocodiles?
Yes.
Crocodiles. Like the reptile.
That's correct. More accurately, they're Indian gavials.
What are crocs doing deep in this forest?
You'll have to ask Paramedic about that one. Paramedic?
Yes.
You said the enemy is equipped with AK-47s, didn't you? The AK-47 is the official assault rifle of the Soviet Army. It's employed not only by the Soviets, but throughout the entire Eastern Bloc. It uses 7.62 millimeter by 39 ammunitions, with a magazine capacity of 30 rounds. The AK is reliable, precise, powerful, and easy to handle. In short, one of the best assault rifles there is. Don't even think about getting into a one-man firefight against an enemy unit equipped with AKs. Avoid battle as much as possible. Are we clear? You mentioned the enemy was also carrying grenades, correct? Those grenades are RGD-5s, the standard blast fragmentation grenade of the Soviet Army. You can protect yourself from a large part of the blast and shrapnel from a grenade by lying flat on the ground. If someone throws a grenade at you and you sense that you can't get away in time, get into a crawl position. It should reduce the damage to a minimum. I see you've got your hands on an SVD. The SVD is the Soviet Union's most advanced automatic sniper rifle. It's said to be better designed and more durable than anything the West has.
It looks kind of like an AK-47.
The shape is similar, but the internal mechanism is one of a kind. It uses 7.62 by 54 millimeter rimmed cartridges, which are more powerful and precise than the ones the AK uses. It can be a powerful weapon if you know how to use it. Sniper rifles aren't meant to be used on the move. When you equip one, you'll immediately go into first-person view. The more stable your stance, the less your hands will shake when you're aiming the rifle. Make sure you're lying down before attempting to make a long-distance shot. To use the scope, press the aim button. You can also use the action button to change the level of magnification. By taking out enemies from a distance with the sniper rifle, you can shift the odds in your favor. Use it well. I see you found yourself an RGD-5. RGD stands for Groznyj Grad in Russian. It basically means hand grenade of the Degtyarev design. It's the standard issue blast fragmentation grenade of the Soviet Army.
It's lighter than the M26.
And it carries fewer explosives as well. But I'd say it's more or less equal to an M26 in terms of performance. Be careful, though. The safety pin ring is on the opposite side. You'll be fine as long as you keep the safety lever pressed down with your finger.
I'll keep that in mind.
Blast fragmentation grenades use a combination of blast and shrapnel to kill their targets. This makes them effective against standing targets, but significantly less effective against targets lying on the ground. Remember that. I see you've got a smoke grenade. The smoke grenade does exactly what the name implies. It creates a thick dispersion-resistant cloud of white smoke that blocks the enemy's field of vision. It should be useful when you need to make a quick getaway. Keep it in mind. That's certainly a strange-looking grenade you've got there.
Yeah, I've never seen one like this. What is it?
It must be a new type of grenade developed by the Russians. From what I can tell, it's a non-lethal weapon that uses a flash of light and intense sound to overpower the senses of human targets. You can probably use that grenade to knock out the enemy without killing them. It might prove useful. That's an interesting grenade you've got there.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this before.
Apparently it's designed to disrupt radio waves by scattering tiny pieces of metal into the air. The Russians probably developed it as a personal anti-electronics weapon. You can use that grenade to block radio communications between enemy soldiers.
Then they won't be able to call for reinforcements, huh?
That's right. But remember that as long as the radio disruption lasts, your active sonar and motion detector will also be rendered inoperable. Those things you're wearing, those are...
Thermal goggles. Some kind of electronic gadget that shows the distribution of heat sources in image form.
I know they're based on the same principle behind the FLIR system on gunships, but to think they actually made it small enough to carry with you.
They're not just making good rockets, huh? Never underestimate the power of Soviet science.
Tell me about it. In any case, those thermal goggles should allow you to easily see through enemy camouflage and spot traps. Just don't leave them on for too long, or you'll drain the batteries.
That area is called Dolino Vodno. The name means forest of the canyon. It probably got that name from the chasm that divides the jungle in two. The rope bridge at the center was hastily constructed to enable them to patrol Drumuchi. Speaking of which, what are you doing all the way back there? Get back to the north now.
It's going to be tough to cross over that suspension bridge without being seen by the enemy. You'll have to figure out some way to get rid of the sentries first. You said it's a suspension bridge, right?
Yeah,
Supported by rope?
that's right.
If you cut the rope, the suspension bridge should sway quite a bit. You may be able to shake the enemies off the bridge. Your weapons aren't the only way to take out enemies. Use your head.
A suspension bridge, is it? If you cross that, you'll be revealed to enemies in every direction. To cross the bridge, you'll have to do something about the enemies in the area first. You could put them to sleep with a long-range tranquilizer shot, or you could get in close, lure them to you, and take them out. Snake, I'm sure you realize that a fall into that canyon would be instant death. Of course, the same goes for enemies.
The weapon you're equipped with now is called the XM-16E1. It's a new type of rifle currently being developed by the U.S. Army.
If it's still in development, then what's it doing here?
My guess is they captured it when it was being battle-tested in Southeast Asia. But the one you've got there is quite a bit different from the ones I've been hearing about. For one thing, it's camo-painted, and it's fitted with a 3-shot burst mechanism. It even looks like you could attach a suppressor. All of these modifications are geared towards jungle combat. This doesn't look like the work of the Soviets. My guess is they were added on site by an American gunsmith during Army field trials. You have some life medicine on you. Life medicine is a recent pharmaceutical product developed by the Soviet Union. It works with your metabolism to quickly treat wounds. If you use it, you can recover life on the spot. Try it when your life is starting to run low in battle.
That area is known as Rassvet. It means dawn in Russian. The area got that name when the factory was first constructed. But the factory ended up being closed down, and Solinoyarsk was reborn as a secret research center and military fortress.
Snake, those drums are filled with fuel. That'll prove to be useful.
What do you mean?
Think about it. Shoot a bullet at a drum full of flammable fuel and,
Gotcha.
if you blow up those drums full of fuel, the explosion should take care of any enemies in a fairly wide radius. Just make sure you don't get caught up in the blast yourself. Drums lying on their side can be sent rolling. Time it right and you might be able to use it to bowl over multiple enemies at once. Give it a try. Stand near a drum and press the action button. Like the Virtuous mission, Operation Snake Eater is a solo sneaking mission. There are no units in the field to back you up. Avoid engaging the enemy whenever possible. Your first priority is to remain unseen. Operation Snake Eater is different from the Virtuous mission in that you won't be able to complete it in just a few hours. The time limit set by Khrushchev is 1 week. Within that time, you'll have to rescue Sokolov, defeat Volgin, destroy the Shagohod, and...
I know.
Good. In any event, you'll not be allowed to return until you've accomplished your objectives. Survival in the field will be critical in this mission, and the most important survival technique of all is, of course, finding food. You can get food in the same way you did during the Virtuous mission, by capturing it. The enemy presence in that area is still light. You should try and get as much food as possible while you can. Thanks to last week's nuclear incident, the Soviet Union is now on secondary alert. We're one step away from a nuclear war.
DEFCON 2, huh?
In American parlance, yes. From what Western intelligence has been able to gather, the radical elements in the Soviet command are showing signs of impatience. They say we're on the brink of World War III here. And with Khrushchev's position getting weaker every day, I worry whether he'll be able to hold them back.
1 week.
Yes. America must eliminate the boss by its own hand to prove its innocence. There is no other way to resolve the crisis. Everything rests on your shoulders, Snake. Failure is not an option.
I know. Major, what should I do with this wreck of a drone?
Just leave it there.
Are you sure?
Yes.
But isn't this thing top secret?
Yes, it is. After the U-2 spy plane incident 4 years ago, plans were laid out for future spy missions in Soviet airspace to be carried out by an unmanned craft. That craft was the D-21 spy drone, the basis of the one you came in on. The D-21 is launched from a craft called the M-21. The M-21 itself is a derivative of the A-12, a supersonic long-range spy plane currently being developed as the successor to the U-2. However, for this mission, we used a modified YF-12A, a long-range interceptor version of the A-12. After being released from the mothership, the drone can achieve speeds upwards of Mach 3 at high altitude using its ramjet engine. It can't be shot down by ground-to-air missiles, and it's nearly undetectable by radar. With Selinoyarsk in such a high state of alert after our last escapade, this was the only reliable way to get you in.
This is all top-secret military technology. Are you telling me I'm supposed to just leave it here?
That's right.
Why?
The purpose of Operation Snake Eater is to send an American agent into the field in order to eliminate a defector and traitor, namely the boss. Part of that mission involves making sure the Soviets find out what we're doing.
So we have to leave behind some kind of evidence that the U.S. was involved.
Don't worry. The technologically sensitive components of the craft were rigged to self-destruct when it landed. The only thing the Soviets are going to find is a pile of American-made scrap metal.
Got it. Just one thing, though.
What is it?
I think they'd better redesign the landing impact buffer. People are going to get hurt landing that thing.
I'll let them know.
Major, I appreciate you allowing me to use weapons, but shouldn't I be carrying some rubles?
You mean fake currency?
Right.
Snake, do you remember the Francis Gary Powers incident back in 1960?
Powers was flying a U-2 on a spy mission for the CIA in Soviet airspace. He was shot down and taken prisoner.
His confession brought to light the fact that the CIA was spying in Soviet airspace. As a result, the US-Soviet summit scheduled for 2 weeks later was cancelled.
Yeah, I remember.
U-2 pilots are required to carry items that mask their identity. Powers was carrying ruble, mark and lira coins, as well as French gold coins. He was also carrying 2 gold watches and 7 women's rings. All of these objects were meant to conceal his national origins. But for this mission, we've got to demonstrate to the Khrushchev regime that America is involved. There's no need to conceal your origins. And besides, all you need to do is complete your mission. As long as you're not captured or killed, the details will take care of themselves.
Okay.
The Soviet intelligence community must be up in arms about the boss's defection. The great Voyevoda has abandoned America and embraced the Soviet Union.
Voyevoda?
Apparently, that's what they call the boss behind the Iron Curtain. It means warrior or mighty soldier in Russian. When used to refer to a woman, it means something close to Lady Knight. In Russia, where they've had a number of female emperors throughout their history, it's a term of great respect, well, poetic in a way. The boss's exploits have made her name famous in the East as well.
The Davy Crockett's that the boss took with her when she defected are mortars that fire nuclear warheads. They're named after Davy Crockett, the hero who died defending the Alamo in the Texan War of Independence.
Remember the Alamo.
That's right. The warheads are equivalent to between 10 and 20 tons of TNT. Every building within 150 yards of the hypocenter is completely obliterated. But the warheads the boss had with her were some kind of experimental super bomb, so they're actually even more powerful than that. I don't even want to think about what would happen if she used it again. Snake, you know what you have to do.
Yeah, I know.
I heard you fought against KGB troops in the Virtuous mission, but this time you're up against Spetsnaz. Spetsnaz is the Special Forces unit of GRU, the intelligence wing of the Soviet Defense Ministry's General Staff Office. Spetsnaz troops undergo rigorous training in all types of special ops, from assassination and demolition to intelligence gathering. That and Volgan's loaded, man. His unit is one of the best equipped in the entire Soviet Union, if not the best. I heard the enemies you encountered in the Virtuous mission were only carrying weapons like AKs and grenades. Well, it ain't that simple anymore. In addition to AKs, some of the patrols you'll encounter might be equipped with Scorpion submachine guns and shotguns. The Scorpion is even lighter than the AK, making it much easier to handle. Basically, a guy with a Scorpion is not gonna miss you as often as with an AK. The shotgun is a powerful weapon. One blast is enough to floor you and you're likely to be seriously wounded. Watch for that, man. Hey, you've got an M1911A1.
Yeah, a 45. 50 years since the Army adopted the first model, and they're still using them. It's a real gem of an automatic pistol.
But aren't you gonna need more than just one little handgun?
Not at all. When you're in a tight spot or fighting in close quarters, sometimes a handgun works better than a rifle. And if I equip a knife at the same time, I can instantaneously switch over to hand-to-hand combat.
I see. Got yourself an AK-47, huh? The AK-47 is the official assault rifle of the Soviet Army. The first model was completed in 1946, and in '49, it beat out all its competitors to become the standard assault rifle of the Soviet military. It uses 7.62mm by 39 rounds developed in 1943, and a 30-round box magazine originally designed for a different assault rifle. You can aim it from the shoulder by equipping it in first-person view and holding down the aim button. It's sturdy and extremely reliable with high power and precision. There's no better assault rifle in the world. Gonna use a grenade, huh? That's an RGD-5, the standard blast fragmentation grenade of the Soviet Army. The grenade itself is composed of 2 steel-plated casings. Each of those casings has an inner fragment liner that causes it to burst into over 300 shards when the grenade explodes. The grenade will deliver heavy damage to any enemies within its blast area. The safety pin is on the opposite side relative to the M26, so be sure to hold the safety lever down with your finger when you grip it. The safety is released when you actually throw the grenade, and it'll explode about 3 seconds later.
So what you're saying is, it won't explode in my hand while I'm holding it?
Of course not.
Oh.
You're thinking of using a white phosphorus grenade. Like the name says, a white phosphorus grenade is one that uses white phosphorus to create an incendiary effect. White phosphorus grenades were used by the U.S. military during World War II. Back then, they were known as Willie Pete's, after the first 2 letters of white phosphorus. The one you've got there is probably the exact same thing. White phosphorus is a white, waxy substance that spontaneously combusts when it reacts with oxygen. The combustion temperature is over 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Any human targets within the area of effect when it explodes are gonna get seriously burned. Just make sure you don't accidentally set yourself on fire. Thinking of using a smoke grenade, huh? As you might expect, smoke grenades can be used to create a smoke screen. The combustion agent is a mixture of zinc oxide, ammonium chloride, aluminum, and some other stuff. When it explodes, it releases a thick cloud of grayish-white smoke that resists dispersion. That should provide some nice cover. The smoke will confuse the enemy by blocking their field of vision. That'll help you out when you're trying to make a quick getaway. It also works the other way around. You can use it as cover to sneak up on an enemy position. The smoke screen should work just as well when you're being chased by dogs, too. I've never seen a grenade like that one before. There are two basic types of grenades. Fragmentation grenades, which use shrapnel to kill or maim the target, and explosive grenades, which use the blast from the explosion as the offensive means. But the grenade you've got there isn't either of those. My best guess is that it's meant to knock the enemy out without hurting them. Most likely, it's an entirely new kind of weapon developed exclusively at Groznyj Grad. I've heard that the SAS is working on a low-impact grenade for training purposes, but I never thought they'd be used in an actual battle. The flash of light that occurs when the grenade explodes is probably produced by magnesium. It's the same stuff that's used in camera flashes. I'm thinking they cut down on killing power by reducing the amount of explosives and made up for it by making the flash and bang so strong that it overwhelms the enemy's senses. I guess you could call it a stun grenade.
If I'm going to be stunned, I'd rather it be by a woman.
Snap out of it. Anyone around when that thing goes off will be laid out. It ought to come in handy when you're trying to storm a room or when you don't want to kill the enemy. That's a weird grenade you got there. From what I can tell, it's an anti-electronics weapon that works by scattering a bunch of metal foil in the air to interfere with radio signals. Call it a chaff grenade, if you will. By using a chaff grenade, you can disrupt the function of enemy radios and electronic devices for a short period of time. But keep in mind that as long as the chaff is in effect, you won't be able to use your motion detector or active sonar either. You say you're using a single-action army. The single-action army was first manufactured in 1873. It's been in production ever since then, except for a short hiatus. People started calling it the single-action army after the army adopted it as their official sidearm in 1875. It's also sometimes called the peacemaker, owing to the fact that a lot of sheriffs used it to keep law and order in the Old West. There are a lot of different models. The one you've got is probably the black powder model. The single-action army uses 45 long Colt rounds. It's powerful enough to fire a 255-grain bullet at an initial velocity of 800 feet per second. The muzzle energy is almost 10% higher than the 45 ACP bullets the M1911A1 uses. You want stopping power? You got it. The only thing is, it takes a while to reload. This is a gun with history. You can do all sorts of tricks with it. Why don't you practice with it for a while? Go into first-person view and use the right analog stick. I see you're using the binoculars. Those are high-performance binoculars made especially for the military. They're completely waterproof and are filled with nitrogen gas to prevent lens fog. The eyepiece, objective lenses, and the prism have been coated to reduce glare. They ought to work plenty well, even in dark places. And they're even equipped with autofocus and zoom functions. Won't find a better pair of binoculars than that.
What are you, a binocular salesman?
Hey, I know a good product when I see one, that's all.
Huh.
Using the mine detector, huh? When you equip the mine detector, it lets you know with a sound if there are any claymore mines nearby. A mine detector is basically a metal detector, so ordinarily it reacts to scrap iron the same way it reacts to mines. They say that only about 1 out of every 100 objects it responds to is an actual mine. Not exactly what you call reliable. So they're researching other ways to detect mines, like sniffing for molecules given off by explosives and using a kind of underground radar. One of these days, they might actually make something that works. But the one you're using is apparently set up so that it only reacts when it finds a claymore on the ground. No need to worry about it being fooled by anything other than a mine. Hey, what's that you've got there?
Thermal goggles. From what I can tell, they detect and display sources of heat.
You're kidding me. They actually made a passive infrared night vision device small enough to carry around with you?
What, is that special or something?
Is it special? Here in the West, we've just barely got the technology to install it on aircraft.
So that's what that thing is they put on the gunship. But doesn't the Army have something like that for driving vehicles at night? I thought I saw...
You mean the ANPAS-5. That's an active infrared night vision device. It fires infrared beams from an infrared projector and uses the reflections to build an image. Those goggles you've got there are completely different. Basically, when you've got those equipped, you'll be able to spot enemy soldiers in the jungle with ease, even if they're camouflaged. They might even help you find traps. But you won't be able to see the terrain as well, so watch your step. What you got there, Snake?
Some kind of drug. The label says pentazamine.
Pentazamine? What the hell is that?
Beats me.
Let's ask paramedic. Yo, paramedic!
Yeah?
You ever heard of a drug called pentazamine?
Yeah, it's an anti-anxiety drug related to benzodiazepine. It's a minor tranquilizer used to treat things like depression, autonomic ataxia, and aporioneurosis and things like that. Besides its calming and antidepressant properties, it's also known for its anti-convulsant effect.
Anti-convulsant effect?
Yeah.
So in other words, it can help keep your hands from shaking.
Yeah, I guess so.
This could be useful.
What are you talking about?
Nothing. I just thought that if I took this drug when I used a sniper rifle, it'd help make my aim steadier.
Oh, I see. That's an interesting idea. I think it might work. Give it a try.
Major, why did the boss defect?
I don't know, but I will tell you this. America is all too eager to get rid of her.
What do you mean?
She knows too many of our secrets. If she were to relay all the top-secret information she knows to the Soviet bloc, it would put us at a severe disadvantage. It might even lead to the downfall of the West. Even if we survive, the boss is still too much of a hero to us. With her in the Soviet camp, we'd suffer a fatal loss of morale at home. There are even whispers that some of the less stalwart elements of the military might follow her example and defect themselves. I assume you're aware that since your last mission, several key figures within the CIA have been placed under house arrest.
Yeah.
The loss of the boss has been a painful one indeed.
What about you?
Me? I still can't believe it. As a comrade, I would have placed my trust in her before my own family. But now that I think about it, the boss always seemed to have an aura of mystery about her. I never would have expected it to manifest in this way, though. Oh, well, it won't do to get all misty-eyed about it. She's an enemy now, worthy of nothing more than our contempt.
Understood. Major, why was the boss there? Did they detect my infiltration?
That's impossible. The drone shouldn't have been picked up by their radar at all.
Then how did she know? It couldn't have been a...
That's also out of the question. We've taken all measures to ensure this mission stays secret.
Then what's going on?
I don't know. It won't do you any good to dwell on it, Snake. Hurry to your rendezvous with Adam. Head for the abandoned factory to the north. Watch out for enemy patrols. Stay alert at all times, okay?
Major.
Snake, the boss is your enemy. You've got to accept that reality. Adam is waiting for you at the abandoned factory to the north of your current position. Head north.
Major.
What is it?
Why did the boss betray us?
Leave it alone, Snake.
But...
We've been through this before. Besides, asking for reasons now won't change anything.
I thought I'd find out if I met her face to face. I thought for sure she'd tell me, but...
Then you'll have to find your own answers.
By completing my mission?
Yes. A rope bridge, huh? You'll stick out like a sore thumb if you walk on top of it. To cross it without being seen, you'll have to do something about the enemies. Snake, if you fall from that cliff, you're dead meat. Climb up before you lose your grip strength. Whatever happens, don't let go.
Those rifles the Ocelots are using aren't AK-47s, are they?
No. They kind of look like AKMs, but they're different.
Different how?
They've got steel handguards and vertical type foregrips, and the muzzle suppressor is bigger.
A carbine version of the AKM, huh? Hungary has a unique modified version of the AKM called the AMD-63. I heard something before about them making a prototype carbine version of that. My guess is they probably imported some of those prototypes. If they're using a carbine version of the AMD-63 like I'm thinking, then they could be a serious threat. Those things handle better than the AK-47s, especially at close range. And don't forget, the Ocelots are elites. They're gonna be better shots than normal Spetsnaz, and you're that much more likely to get seriously hurt. Keep your eyes open.
It looks like you've got rid of all the ocelots.
Yeah.
Now proceed with the rescue of Sokolov. According to Eva, you should start by going to the crevice to the north and...
Can we trust her?
What's that?
Eva is with the KGB, isn't she? Can I really believe what she says? How do I know she won't double-cross me?
There are no guarantees in espionage, Snake, only calculated guesses. At this point in time, the KGB stands nothing to gain by stabbing us in the back.
So you're saying I can trust her?
I'm saying the chance that she'll betray you is low.
Ah.
Of course, we checked the route she gave you against our own data. It looks like a pretty solid infiltration route. It makes good use of weak spots in the enemy's defenses. You shouldn't have any problems. Follow the route Eva showed you and proceed with the mission.
Roger.
Eva was right when she said that operating in an unknown jungle at night is extremely dangerous. In my former outfit, the SAS, we'd always be sure to set up camp before sunset and wait until daybreak before setting out again. Being able to stay in that abandoned factory made things a lot easier for you. You ought to be thanking Eva.
So you've got an M1911A1, huh?
Yeah, Eva gave it to me. She said it used to belong to a Western officer.
Looks like someone did a little work on it, too.
It's more than a little. First of all, the feeding ramp is polished to a mirror sheen. It's not going to have any feeding problems. The slide's been replaced with a reinforced version, and it meshes perfectly with the frame. The frame itself has been iron welded and scraped down multiple times for maximum precision. The front strap part of the frame has been checkered to make it dig into the hand. That prevents any slipping. The sight system's original too. It's a 3-dot type. It's got an enlarged front sight, giving it superior target sighting capability. The regular hammer's been replaced with a ring hammer. That enhances the cocking control and increases the hammer down speed. They also reworked the grip safety to accommodate the ring hammer. Looks like they eliminated it altogether. This is a tool for pros. The thumb safety and the slide stop are extended to allow for more precise handling. The base of the trigger guard is whittled down so you can use a high grip. And the trigger itself is a long type for easy finger access. The trigger pull is about 3.5 pounds. That's about 1.5 pounds lighter than normal. The magazine well has been widened to make it easier to put in a new magazine. The magazine catch button has been cut down low to make it harder to hit it by mistake. The mainspring housing has been changed to a flat type to increase grip, and it's even been fitted with stepping so it doesn't slip from the recoil when firing. On top of that, they added cocking serrations to the front part of the slide. That lets you load and eject cartridges faster in an emergency. Whoever did this is a professional. No question, this thing could shoot a one-hole at 25 yards in a machine rest.
Well, I'll be damned. That's some gun.
Yeah, I've never used a weapon this fine in my life.
Hey, Snake, remember back at the abandoned factory when you whittled the grip of that 45 down?
Yeah,
I've never heard of a customization like that before. Why the grip?
to fit it with a knife.
A knife? You're gonna keep the knife and the gun both at the ready?
That's the idea.
Why would you want to do that?
Sometimes a knife works better in close proximity encounters. So I equip both at the same time. That way I can switch back and forth in an instant.
Badass. So that's that.
CQC.
Snake, you said Eva said her Mauser was a Type 17, right?
Yeah, what about it?
That model was produced in the 1920s in a weapons lab in the Shaanxi province in China. The cartridge part sticks out lower than the original to accommodate 45 caliber rounds. The barrel and chamber are a little bit thicker too. But most telling of all, it's got Chinese characters engraved on both sides of the frame like you saw. And that firing stance Eva was talking about where you hold the gun horizontally, that's a trademark of the Chinese. Just like you were saying, when you're firing in full auto mode, the muzzle jump effect gives you a horizontal strafing motion. They say it's especially deadly in indoor and close-range mop-up actions. The Japanese called it bandit shooting and used to dread it. Makes you wonder where she learned to shoot like that. You know that army motorcycle that Eva was riding? That's a replica of a German model.
A replica?
Yeah. After World War II, the Soviets confiscated an entire assembly line from a German motorcycle factory, machines and all.
And then they took it back with them and started producing replicas?
Exactly. Originally, that motorcycle was designed to be used with a sidecar attached. That means it's got enough power to drag a 200-plus pound sidecar around.
So that's how she could pull off all those crazy stunts.
Uh-huh. Of course, it takes a lot of skill to be able to control that much power. That Eva chick is something else.
Eva, what kind of unit are those ocelots I fought a little while ago?
The Ocelot unit is an elite group composed of soldiers handpicked from among the ranks of Spetsnaz, the Special Forces wing of GRU. They've undergone even more rigorous training than regular Spetsnaz. Their skill with weapons is the stuff of legends. You'll find they're much better shots than the rest of GRU. Watch yourself.
Snake, whatever happens to you, make sure you leave a descendant, okay?
Are you saying you want to have my baby?
No. I'm saying that in the 21st century, the genes of soldiers like you are going to be in high demand.
Genes?
Uh-huh. Remember when Watson and Crick discovered the double helix structure of DNA back in 1953?
No.
You know, they won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for it the year before last. Of course, you have to feel sorry for Pauling and Franklin. They were researching the exact same thing.
Sorry, I don't follow.
Inside every living creature are little blueprints called genes. Through the union of the sperm and egg cells, these blueprints are transformed and inherited by the next generation. That's why parents and children resemble each other. The concept of genes was first proposed over 100 years ago by Mendel, but he didn't know what they were exactly. For a while, it was thought that chromosomes were composed not of deoxyribonucleic acid, but of proteins called polypeptides. Later, it was shown that deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, was a biological macromolecule. Then 11 years ago, Watson and Crick discovered that DNA had a double helix structure.
Yeah, this is all fascinating stuff, but what exactly does it have to do with me?
The inherent characteristics of any given individual are determined by his or her genes. By duplicating a set of superior genes, a separate body with the same set of characteristics, a clone, can be created.
But genes don't control a person's fate.
That's true, but having an offspring that's genetically identical to the parent is more efficient, right? You can expect better results that way.
More efficient? You can't mass-produce human beings.
Maybe, but now that we know the true nature of genes, human cloning is that much closer to reality. Nuclear transplanting is already theoretically possible, so one day...
My genes are going to be a valuable commodity.
Exactly.
They'd never let that happen.
Just think, even if your body dies, you survive and go on to bigger and better accomplishments. If you think about it, it's kind of an honor.
Does that kind of technology seriously appeal to you?
Well, I am a doctor. I can't condone it on moral grounds, but I'm fascinated by the possibilities. Especially when I see such an excellent specimen as yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for the compliment, but it doesn't make me feel any better.
Don't be so glum. It's not like it's going to happen anytime soon. We'll just have to wait and see. Snake, I looked at your medical record. You've been exposed to an atomic blast?
Yeah, the Bravo shot. It was a hydrogen bomb test conducted at Bikini Atoll on March 1st, 1954. I was at the American base on Kwajalein in the Marshall Islands when the ashes of death started falling from the sky.
Any symptoms?
None. At least, not yet. But a lot of the guys who were in it with me are now suffering from thyroid cancer and leukemia. Some of them are dead already. One of these days. Anyway, I'd better get back to the mission.
Yeah.
That area is known as Chorny Prud. The name means something like the Black Shore in Russian. It got its name from the deep swamp that covers the area. The crocodiles in that swamp are extremely vicious. Apparently, they've already chewed up a bunch of soldiers out on patrol. Now no one even dares to go near the swamp. They said that most of the soldiers who were killed were attacked from behind while they were in the water. You be careful out there.
Eva. You said you got along with the boss, right?
Yeah, we get along pretty well. I admire her. Although she's supposed to be the distant hero, for some reason she's nice to me. She even carried my bags for me the other day. I was impressed.
Your bags?
Maybe because we're both defectors. We never talk much, but I get the feeling that she understands how I feel. I've had dreams about the whole thing. Good. You made it to Bolshaya Pust. The name Bolshaya Pust means something close to the Great Cavity. It probably got that name from the crevice to the north. There's a fortified area in the southern part of Bolshaya Pust that's strung with barbed wire. To the north of that is a relay station that serves as both a depot for material shipments and a communication facility. The crevice leading to the cave is located to the north of the relay station. Head north.
Ah, you got yourself some claymores. The M18A1 Claymore is a new type of anti-personnel directional mine developed in the U.S. after the Korean War. The gently curved casing is packed with 1.5 pounds of high-grade explosives. The side facing the enemy is lined with 700 steel ball bearings. So when the mine explodes, the ball bearings simultaneously burst out of the casing. Anyone in the kill zone, be he friend or foe, is instant Swiss cheese. The mine is triggered by an electric detonator. Apparently, the detonator's got some kind of special motion detector built in.
Yeah. When the mine is planted, it reacts to anything that comes close and automatically explodes.
Just make sure you don't trip your own mine or something stupid like that.
I'll be careful.
You can pick up a planted claymore by crawling over it. Mines planted by the enemy can also be picked up in this way. So if you come across a minefield, it's a good idea to crawl through it and pick up the mines.
What are they doing making minefields out of Western mines anyway?
They're probably doing field performance evaluations on mines they either captured or stole from the West. The structure of the claymore isn't actually all that complicated. They must be learning a lot about them. It might not be long before we start seeing Claymoraski mines.
Snake, sorry if I forgot to tell you, but they've got attack dogs prowling that area. If they find you, you'll be in for a rough time. Attack dogs are trained for fighting, and you won't be able to shake them off so easily. If they bark at you, it'll alert nearby patrols to your presence. Be careful not to get spotted by those dogs.
Snake, it looks like they've got attack dogs in that area. Attack dogs generally receive extensive military training in tracking and combat techniques. They're formidable close-range fighters and difficult to elude. Their barking can alert enemy patrols to your presence as well. Take care not to let attack dogs catch sight of you. Attack dogs may be dangerous, but they can't climb trees. If you've been cornered by attack dogs, try climbing a tree. Smoke grenades should prove useful as well.
You say there are attack dogs? Those attack dogs are Great Danes. The breed is originally from Germany. They've been used for hundreds of years as hunting dogs. As you can see, they're very large, strong too. They've got a calm yet courageous temperament, and on top of that, they're extremely intelligent. In some cases, a trained Great Dane can be more dangerous than a human opponent. Watch out for them.
Interesting.
Forget it, Snake.
Forget what?
You were thinking about how they taste, weren't you?
I wasn't thinking.
Don't lie to me. I could tell by the look on your face.
You can't see my face.
No, but I can imagine it. Don't you dare think about trying to capture an attack dog. You hear me?
Yeah.
Snake, be careful of those attack dogs.
Don't worry. I know how dangerous they are.
No, you're the one who's dangerous.
Me?
Those dogs are just innocent animals, even if they've been trained to kill. You shouldn't hurt them unless you have to.
But...
You know, humans and dogs have been living together for 50,000 years ever since the Stone Age. Sure, they make good pets and watchdogs, but they also help us out in a variety of different fields. Not just as police and army dogs, but as hunters, shepherds, rescuers, and seeing-eye dogs. They deserve our respect.
I know what you mean. I'm a dog sled fan myself.
In the future, many of the jobs that dogs do now will probably be taken over by machines. They'll have miniature unmanned reconnaissance vehicle and security systems. And in the 21st century, I'll bet they'll even be selling robot dogs as pets.
You've got to be kidding.
But even if that happens, dogs will still be our most trusted companions.
Unmanned recon vehicle. That's a pretty scary thought.
Well, for now, trained dogs are the best they've got.
They sicked attack dogs on you? People have been using dogs in wars since before recorded history. The Greek and Roman armies used to send out packs of dogs with spiked collars to charge at enemy ranks. Attack dogs were regularly employed in the First and Second World Wars as well. Traditionally, dogs have been used to keep watch, send messages, and assist in search operations. Then the Soviets came up with a new idea, using them to carry bombs.
Bomb dogs?
Yeah, they were trained to dive beneath tanks carrying a payload of bombs. Apparently it worked pretty well, but the Russians messed up, man. They used their own tanks for the training. Turns out the dogs kept going after Russian tanks and blowing them up, so the plan was scrapped before it got off the ground. Well, I don't think you need to worry about those dogs exploding on you. They don't seem to be the bomb-carrying type. But they are highly trained in tracking and detection. Don't underestimate them. They're excellent trackers and ferocious fighters. Attack dogs move fast and are deadly in proximity encounters. They'll pick up your scent and use it to track you, so it'll be hard to shake them off. In a way, they're more dangerous than any human opponent. Be prepared. The Soviet-made smoke grenades you might find around there also seem to act as a mild tear gas. It might not have that much of an effect on human targets wearing balaclavas, but it ought to wreak havoc to a dog's nose. If you're being chased by attack dogs, give them a taste of a smoke grenade. Those gun emplacements are DSHKs, a large caliber machine gun officially adopted by the Soviet Army in 1939. The name DSHK comes from the initials of the two creators, Degtyarev and Shpagin, plus the Russian word for large caliber. They saw a lot of action in World War II. The Russians used them as anti-aircraft and anti-armor guns for position defense, vehicle turrets, and infantry support. The combined weight of the gun and the emplacements is almost 350 pounds, so you can forget about picking one up and taking it with you. The gun is gas-powered and capable of spitting out 550 rounds a minute on a belt feed system, which is bad news for you when the enemy's using it. Hide behind something and lob a grenade at it, or attack it from outside the emplacement's firing angle. Either way, it's not a good idea to rush at it head on. Or you might try using a smoke grenade to put up a smoke screen that'll cover your approach.
Eva.
Hmm?
There's an attack helicopter docked at the heliport.
Oh. It's an attack chopper currently being developed at Groznyj Grad. They're using it as a patrol craft while they conduct tests. Didn't I tell you?
No.
The helicopter docked there is probably in for maintenance right now, so you won't have to worry about it taking off. If you're thinking of destroying it, now's your chance.
Sounds like a plan, but how?
Huh?
There's no way I'm going to punch through that armor with an assault rifle. Isn't there a weapon somewhere that can do some real damage?
You'll just have to figure that out yourself.
Major,
What is it?
that attack chopper is parked on the heliport.
The one from before?
Yeah, the one that took away the Shagohod during the Virtuous mission.
Perhaps it's an armed variation of the Mi-8 hip.
No, some of it looks the same, but the overall shape is different. It's got stub wings, and the cockpit canopy looks like an angular greenhouse.
No kidding. Then it must be some kind of new model. I've heard stories recently that the Soviets are developing a flying infantry combat vehicle. That's gotta be it.
A flying infantry combat vehicle?
Yeah, a transport chopper with troop-carrying capabilities. Think of it as an attack transport chopper version of France's AMX VCI or the Soviet BMP. They must be doing field tests on the initial prototype.
A next-generation chopper that's a little smaller than the hip. Maybe we should call it a Hind.
Not bad. It's cool with me.
Then it's settled. We'll refer to that new type helicopter as a Hind from now on. The Hind you see parked at the heliport must not be ready to fly. You don't need to worry about it taking off. If you're going to destroy it, now might be your chance.
Looks like you've got some TNT. TNT is short for trinitrotoluene, a pale yellow crystalline compound made from a trinitrified mix of nitric acid and sulfuric acid. It's used throughout the world as a military explosive. It has a low sensitivity and is chemically stable, making it easy to handle. It's also got a low melting point and can easily be shaped by boiling or steaming it. But because the sensitivity is so low, you need a booster to actually get it to explode.
No problem. It came with its own remote control detonator.
Good. Then all you have to do is press the weapon button to place the TNT, and then press the CQC button to set it off.
That's so different from simply changing a clip.
There's a hornet's nest over by
Paramedic.
What's wrong? Are you hurt?
No.
Then what?
These hornets won't go away.
The hornets?
Yeah, they've been flying around over my head in a figure-8 pattern and won't go away. Any idea why?
Well, hornets use the figure-8 dance to signal that they found food.
Food?
Yeah, like flowers or nectar.
What does it mean?
I don't know, but at least they're not attacking you, right? I think it's best to just leave them alone. You've got bigger things to worry about, like Ocelot.
Good point.
You can beat him, Snake.
Who said I couldn't?
Snake, those hornets that attacked you while you were fighting Ocelot.
I know. They look familiar, like the ones I saw during the Virtuous mission.
So it was one of the Cobras.
That's what Ocelot was saying, too.
Keep your guard up.
I will.
Snake, are you all right?
Yeah, just barely. What the hell were all those hornets?
Most likely that was the pain, one of the Cobras.
I figured as much. Are they tracking me?
I don't know. The Cobras only take orders from the boss. Not even Volgin knows what they're really up to, so I don't know anything about them either.
No kidding.
I'll try and dig up as much as I can about them. You just focus on moving ahead. Go to the end of the cave and you'll come out in an aqueduct overgrown with mangroves. This leads to the Ponizovye swamp. And Snake, be careful. That cave
Is pitch dark inside.
Good. I did remember to tell you then. If it's completely dark and you need a light, try using a torch. I heard there's some emergency torches stored somewhere in that cave.
Torches. Got it. So where are they?
Huh?
Where are the torches?
How should I know? Go find them yourself. That cave is known as Chornaya Peshara. In Russian, Chornaya Peshara means the black cave from which cold wind blows. It's a magma cavern formed millions of years ago, back when Salinoyarsk was the site of volcanic activity. The structure of the cave is pretty complex, but you should be able to find the aqueduct if you keep moving inward. Head toward the interior of the cave.
A torch? A little primitive, but a light's a light. From what I can tell, that torch is made of white birch dipped in turpentine. It burns long, so I don't think you'll have a problem with it burning out on you. If you equip it and press the CQC button, you can use it to smack the enemy. You can also swing it around by pressing that button repeatedly. Useful when you need to clear the room of bats and stuff. With the weapon button, you can light and extinguish a torch, so make sure that thing is out if an enemy is closing in. Get used to it. The light from the torch is visible from a long way off, though. It probably goes without saying, but marching into battle with a torch in your hand is not the sanest course of action. You should only light a torch when you're someplace like a cave where you can't find your way around without a light.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hey, what's that you're wearing?
Night vision goggles. This gadget lets me see in the dark by amplifying light and displaying it as images.
Amplifying light?
That's what it looks like to me.
Well, I'll be damned. They're working on something like that here in the States, but so far it's not viable unless it's coupled with an infrared searchlight. And now the Russians have something you can carry with you. Anyway, those goggles should give you a decent visual range even in dark places. But don't look at anything bright like fire, or it'll get burned into your eyes and you won't be able to see for a while. Be careful.
That reminds me, I've heard they keep a shotgun stored in that part of the cave. Why don't you go look for it?
Ah, I see you got yourself an M37. The M37 is a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. Don't expect any kind of accuracy from a distance, but one blast will send the enemy flying, and it's got some serious firepower, too. Good thing to have with you in close-range combat. It takes a while to reload, though, so plan accordingly. The thing that really distinguishes the M37 is that it's lightweight. It's about 2 pounds lighter than other shotguns. In fact, it's so light that it's been nicknamed the Featherlight.
Yeah, and to top it off, this one's had its barrel and stock sawed off.
That's probably a modification to make it easier to wield in the jungle. Those Soviet boys know what they're doing. I guess the other distinguishing feature would be the lack of an ejection port on the side of the receiver.
Ambidextrous, huh?
Exactly. It's been designed so you can use it left-handed or right-handed with equal ease. But that's not all. The low number of apertures means that it won't get jammed up as much with mud and dirt when you use it out in the field. This weapon is made for the jungle.
Good to know. But what are they doing with an American-made shotgun?
Good question. I guess they could be doing research on Western weapons, but... Did you ever hear about the SAS using shotguns in the jungle combat in Malaya?
Just stories.
In the jungle, you're always running into the enemy when you least expect it. The SAS found the shotgun to be extremely effective, delivering massive firepower in a short period of time. Because of that, lately a lot of point men are starting to use shotguns as their weapon of choice. Vogan's men might be trying that tactic out for themselves.
Go!
Snake, you've got alarm pheromones all over your clothes.
When the pain hits you with alarm pheromones, the hornet's attacks will become more aggressive. They'll assault you more often, so be careful. If you get covered in the alarm pheromones, you should go into the survival gear and change your clothes immediately.
Tommy gun!
He's got a Tommy gun. The Thompson submachine gun, or Tommy gun, is a submachine gun that saw a lot of action in World War II. That thing can spit out 745 ACP rounds in a minute's time. Its sturdiness and reliability made it popular during the Korean War, and it's still the weapon of choice for a lot of Special Forces units. Sure, it's a little bit old-fashioned, but it still packs a nasty punch.
Snake, you beat the pain.
Not without a tough fight.
How did it feel to fight one of the boss's comrades?
What are you getting at?
I just want to know what it's like to have fought a member of the legendary Cobra unit. That's all.
What you want to know is if I can really face the boss. Is that right?
Well, that too.
Don't waste your time worrying about me. I'll get the mission done.
I certainly hope so.
So the exit of the cave is up ahead?
Right. Pass through that area to the north and you'll reach the aqueduct. But be careful. The aqueduct is patrolled by flying platforms.
Flying platforms?
Soldiers hovering in the air.
I've heard stories, but...
They've already been implemented over here. It goes to show that America isn't #1 in everything.
Eva mentioned that that area was guarded by flying platforms. Be careful, they can see a great distance from up there. If a flying platform starts to draw near, you would do well to dive underwater and hide until it passes.
You say they have flying platforms out there? Flying platforms are a type of personal VTOL aircraft.
They were working on those in America, too, weren't they?
Yeah, back in the 50s. They were supposedly going to be used for scouting and patrol missions, as well as to spot for artillery units and transport troops into rough territory. They even got an initial prototype off the ground in 1955. But the thing wasn't fast enough, and there were problems with getting it to stop and turn in midair, so they ended up scrapping the project. The ones you see there were built by the Soviets after they got their hands on the American design plans. The American model used a pair of contra-rotating rotors to generate lift, but those Soviet models seem to be using jet engines instead. They must have kept going with their research after the US abandoned its own project. Now they've finally overtaken us. You gotta give them credit for sticking with it. If you get spotted by an enemy riding a flying platform, they'll go into alert phase. The flying platforms themselves don't seem to be armed, but the pilots are carrying Scorpion submachine guns and grenades. The recoil on the Scorpion is low enough so that they should be able to fire one-handed in full auto mode. That gives them some serious firepower.
That aqueduct is known as Ponizovye. It means the land down the river. As you can see, it's overgrown with mangrove. Usually they'd have boats going up and down transporting materials. But right now the place is on high alert, so the boats have stopped running. But enough about that. What are you doing there? We're supposed to meet up in the mountains. Hurry up and get there. You can start by going back to the warehouse. I heard a report that they've transported a sniper rifle to the western part of Ponizovye, the aqueduct at the other end of the cave. When you get to the aqueduct, you might want to head over that way and check it out.
Snake, Eva mentioned something about a sniper rifle in the western part of Ponizovye. A sniper rifle would certainly be a valuable asset to your mission. Swing by the western area and acquire that sniper rifle.
Ah, you've got an SVD. That's the Soviets' top-of-the-line semi-automatic sniper rifle, adopted just last year. SVD stands for the Russian words that mean Dragunov Semi-Automatic Sniper Rifle. For a long time, the standard Russian sniper rifle was the Mosin Nagant. But at the beginning of the 1950s, when Soviet troops started carrying automatic rifles and assault rifles, the need for an automatic sniper rifle increased. The SVD was developed to fulfill that need. It can use the same ammo as the Mosin Nagant, 7.62mm by 54 rim cartridges, but they developed a new type of ammo with a tighter firing pattern to go along with it. I heard that these new rounds have a steel core and are 2.5 times more precise than regular rifle bullets. Nothing can match that thing in terms of precision. Try it out for yourself and see how powerful it is.
Major, Sokolov's been hauled off.
Yes, they probably caught him trying to escape from the lab. Didn't Volgin say that they still needed to perform the final test?
Yeah.
Then Sokolov must have been taken back to the lab. Get to the lab and get Sokolov the hell out of there. Pass through that warehouse. Pass through the...
Major, Eva isn't responding to the radio.
Right.
Right.
Snake, she's been talking to you from inside an enemy facility. She's not always going to be able to answer the radio. Don't assume something's wrong just because you're not getting a response. Don't worry about Eva. Stay focused on your mission.
Got it. Major, do you know anything about this, Tanya?
No,
Nothing?
not a thing.
Why not? You must have checked up on Sokolov when he defected 2 years ago. If he had a lover...
Make no mistake, we conducted a thorough investigation, but there was nothing about him having a mistress.
Maybe you didn't notice.
That's impossible.
Then he must have become involved with her after he was taken back to Russia.
I wonder.
What is it, Major? Something wrong?
I don't think Sokolov would take a lover.
Why not?
I still remember him 2 years ago. After we got him across the border, the first words he spoke from his hospital bed, after he regained consciousness, were, "Are my wife and daughter safe?" And right up until the time he was taken back to Russia, he kept begging me over and over to take care of his family, almost as if he was delirious. Sokolov is a man who loves his family. Betraying his wife is something he'd...
Major,
What is it?
people change.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah, maybe.
There seem to be traps planted throughout that area, and they look a little primitive.
Yeah, but this is their territory. Why would they need this many traps here?
Maybe it's part of some kind of tactical research.
Tactical research?
Yeah. As I'm sure you know, the Soviet Union is leading a worldwide revolution among communist forces all over the globe. But a lot of the countries involved don't have the necessary funds and industrial technology, so they need tactics that are both effective and economical.
That's what they're researching?
Yeah, and traps are one of the best ways to do that. I'll bet that place is one of their testing grounds. Clappers, arrows, pendulums, all of these traps are set off by applying force to a rope. Don't touch the ropes and you'll be fine.
Major, I found a...
I know. It's probably a scientist who fled from the lab. I'd wager that the traps in those woods are set up more to deal with would-be escapees than to keep intruders out.
The area you're in now is known as Groznyj Grad. It means Granin's mountain. Apparently it got that name when the Granin lab was first built. But more to the point, what are you doing there? I told you we were supposed to meet up in the mountains, didn't I? Go back through the warehouse to Sviato Gorny.
Snake, that's an MAZ-535, a Soviet-built 8-axle tractor truck. During World War II, most of the heavy transport trucks the Soviets used were supplied by the US. But apparently their performance wasn't quite up to the standards of the Soviet military. The problem only got worse after the war as the size of the Soviet strategical rocket forces grew larger. The Soviets realized they needed a heavy transport truck with excellent cross-country capability to haul their ballistic missiles. So in 1954, they started work on a new truck design over at the SKB MAZ Design Bureau in Minsk, Belarus. And what they came up with was the MAZ-535 you see there. There are a lot of variations on the MAZ-535. What do the headlights look like on that one?
It's got 2 of them.
Then it must be one of the later production models. The early ones were equipped with infrared lamps. They look like they're used for cargo transport. But you're not into auto theft, are you? Just leave it alone and keep going. Snake, you've got a...
I know. It's some new kind of rifle out of the West. Looks kind of like a black rifle.
No, it's not an AR-15. It's an XM16E1, a top-of-the-line rifle that the Army adopted recently on a trial basis. The U.S. military was working on a new concept for a light infantry weapon from the late 40s through the mid-50s. In the end, they decided they wanted a .22 caliber high muzzle velocity rifle with full auto capability. What they came up with was the AR-15, the so-called black rifle. The one you've got there, the XM16E1, is a modified AR-15 that's been fitted with a bolt forward assist. I heard they're doing performance evaluations down in Southeast Asia.
So they captured one in Vietnam and brought it here?
That's my guess. But that thing looks a lot different from a regular XM16E1. There must have been a gunsmith present at the field test who made all these modifications on the spot. The fact that it's painted in camouflage colors shows that more and more people these days are starting to realize the importance of camouflage.
They made it so it takes a suppressor, too.
Yep, that's a nice feature to have for a recon unit on a sneaking mission deep in enemy territory. You can attach and detach the suppressor by opening the weapon window and pressing the enter button. Oh, and the firing mechanism's been modified to enable 3-shot bursts.
Why the hell would they do that?
These days, a lot of new recruits aren't used to firing in full auto mode. They have no trigger control and end up emptying the whole clip at once. Maybe they were experimenting with ways to prevent that and came up with the burst mechanism as a possible solution.
Stupid idea, if you ask me.
Hey, give it a chance. It might come in handy. Open the weapon window and press the action button to switch between semi-auto, full auto, and 3-shot burst modes. Have fun with that.
Not so fast. You can't escape. Come on, let's get back to the lab.
Snake, what's wrong? Did something happen?
Yeah, it looks like they mistook me for a scientist trying to escape.
And so they took you back into the lab?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you've succeeded in infiltrating the lab. In that disguise, you should be able to move around the lab without arousing suspicion.
So, You found yourself a cigarette-shaped narcosis gun. The cigarette-shaped narcosis gun is just what the name says, a sleeping gas gun shaped like a cigarette. It must be a test model that Grannon's lab is working on for KGB spies. Equip it and press the weapon button to fire sleeping gas. It's got a short range, but any enemy that gets hit by the gas will be knocked out cold. Ah, a handkerchief soaked with a knockout drug, you say? With that thing, I'll bet you could put the enemy to sleep just by grabbing them in CQC. You could also press the weapon button to wave the hanky around and spread the knockout drug that way. But there's only enough drug for one use, so you'll have to go soak it if you want to use it again. You should be able to find some sort of anesthetic around there.
Major, Sokolov's already been moved to the fortress.
But that's only what Groznyj told you, right? He may have been giving you false info.
No, he wasn't lying.
How can you be so sure?
Gut feeling.
Good enough for me. According to Groznyj, you should be able to get to the mountains through a passage located deep in the jungle beyond the warehouse.
Right. Then if I climb the mountains, there'll be an underground tunnel leading to Groznyj Grad near the summit. Second, Grannonj was saying that Sokolov's research project was a tank fitted with rockets.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any idea what he meant?
Sorry, beats me. I wonder if it's supposed to increase the tank's mobility, or maybe give the tank short-range missile launching capability. But you're sure it has something to do with Phase 2 of the Shagohod, right?
Yeah.
Khrushchev traded Cuba just to get this thing finished, and Volgin blew up a Soviet research facility to get his hands on it. Whatever it is, it's gotta be big.
Second, do you know anything about that philosopher's legacy Grannonj was talking about?
Not a clue. Never even heard of something like that until now.
Right.
One thing's for sure, though. Volgin's got a huge amount of money stashed away somewhere. Philosopher's legacy, huh? Maybe it is real. That Order of Lenin that Grannonj was talking about is the most prestigious award in the Soviet Union. It's given to individuals, organizations, and cities for outstanding achievements in warfare, science, industry, the arts, and various other fields. You could say it's the highest honor the East has to give.
The fear coats his poison bullets with venom from the Brazilian wandering spider. The Brazilian wandering spider is said to have the deadliest venom of any spider in the world. It's a potent neurotoxin, so if you get hit by one of the fear's poison bolts, go to Cure in the survival viewer and inject yourself with serum immediately before it kills you. The rabbits in that area have antibodies that protect them against the venom of the Brazilian wandering spider. They probably built up an immunity from the fear using them to test his poison bolts. Catching one of those rabbits will give you some serum. If you run out of serum, go catch a rabbit.
The Fear uses two kinds of crossbows, the Little Joe and the William Tell. The Little Joe is designed for proximity combat. It's not that powerful, but the reload time is short. The William Tell, on the other hand, is used for long-range combat. It takes a while to reload, but it's got loads of stopping power. Be careful.
Snake, that forest is immense. It's too dangerous to proceed without adequate information. Give Eva a call.
The name of that forest is Sviato Gorny. In Russian, it means something like the sacred mountain path. The name comes from an old folk tale about mountain spirits who passed through there on their way to Sokrovieno, the forest to the north.
There should be an herb called Chinese plantain growing in that area. The Chinese plantain is an herb that resembles a plantain root. The leaves and seeds contain large amounts of aucubin, choline, and tannin. When you mash it up and apply it to a wound, it helps stop the flow of blood and eases the pain a bit. The Chinese plantain becomes a styptic when you pick it up. If you see one, don't forget to take it with you. Snake, I think there's a plant called Slav horehound growing in that area. Slav horehound is an herb in the horehound family. It contains large amounts of diterpene, flavonoids, and alkaloids, which give it strong germicidal properties. If you find one, it should make a good disinfectant. You should be able to find ezocomfrey in that area. Ezocomfrey is a plant in the comfrey family that's found only in Selinoyarsk. If you find one, you can use it as a cast to treat broken bones.
How can a plant be turned into a splint?
The roots of the ezocomphre are extremely sticky. You can use them as a kind of plaster cast to fasten the affected area in place.
I get it.
There's an herb called the amur kudzu growing in that area. Amur kudzu is a member of the bean family and a close relative of the kudzu weed. The roots contain a number of isoflavins such as daidzein, which give it strong fever-reducing properties. It'll make a good cold medicine if you find some.
I see you got yourself an M63. The M63 is an American-made system weapon.
Yeah, I've heard of it before, but...
But you never got your hands on one. Doesn't surprise me. It's brand new. They only developed it last year. I'm thinking they probably captured some in Southeast Asia and sent them back for research. The term system weapon refers to a design where most of the parts are interchangeable, allowing you to create a lot of different variations from a single original model. Using a set of basic components as the core, you can mix and match parts to create any number of different weapons. It's like a convertible rifle. By switching barrels and magazines around, you can make everything from an assault rifle and a carbine to a light machine gun and even a belt-feeding medium machine gun. Not only does this save the trouble of having to organize a bunch of different weapons on different lines, but it also has the added benefit of cutting down on the amount of training needed for each soldier. Most of the parts are made by presswork and lost wax casting, so they can be manufactured in countries that lack a developed technological base.
Nice touch.
The variation you've got there is the belt-fed light machine gun. It was originally designed for use in squad support missions.
It's a lot lighter than the M60.
Yeah, you won't find a lighter weight light machine gun than that. It ought to be pretty easy to handle in the jungle. Make good use of it.
The forest you're in now is known as Sokolov. The name means the most holy woods. It's been venerated since ancient times as the sacred home of the spirits of the forest. It's the largest and deepest forest in the region and is divided into 3 areas: south, west, and north. Try not to get lost, okay?
Snake, that's the entrance to the shaft, but those vines appear to have sealed it off. You won't be able to enter the shaft until you defeat the End. Finish him off first.
Until you defeat the End, those vines probably aren't going to go away. To get into the tunnel, you'll have to fight and beat him.
You're using a Mosin Nagant?
Yeah, it's what the End was using.
I see. The M1891-30 Mosin Nagant is a real beauty of a bolt-action sniper rifle. It's been in use since World War II. Mosin Nagants are created by selecting the best-made weapons out of the regular M1891-30 rifle production line for their high precision and upgrading them to sniper rifles. They add an optical sight, make the trigger pull lighter, bend the charging handle underneath, that kind of stuff. The Mosin Nagant has been known far and wide since the war for its superior capabilities. They were so highly valued that a lot of German snipers on the Eastern Front preferred to use captured Mosin Nagants instead of their own rifles. It looks like the End took the one he'd been using since the war and modified it to fire tranquilizer rounds.
Yeah, it's also been fitted with a folding stock and a pistol grip.
Maybe for parachute jumps? Well, I don't know why he did it, but that's the tool of a legendary sniper. It's gotta be a fine piece of work. But remember, the Mosin Nagant is a bolt-action rifle, so you'll have to load a new tranquilizer round into the chamber by hand every time you fire. That means no repeat firing. One shot, one kill.
You made it to the mountains. Those mountains are known as Groznyj. The name means the Red Mountain Ridge in Russian. The entire range has been fortified to act as a defense for the great fortress of Groznyj Grad. The area near the top has been dug with bunkers and trenches, and there are anti-aircraft gun emplacements everywhere. It's literally an impenetrable wall. Proceed with caution.
Snake, watch out for enemy soldiers carrying RPG-7s. A full-on rocket blast is not something you can just walk away from. However, it takes some time to reload a rocket launcher. Use that opening to your advantage.
Stay alert. Volgan has sent out attack choppers to stop you. You saw them at the heliport, didn't you? They're probably already patrolling the area. If you get spotted by the enemy, you'll be dealing with that thing.
Just my luck. I don't have any weapons that'll work against them.
There should be an RPG-7 in a bunker in the hillside.
A portable rocket launcher, huh? That should be enough to swat bothersome flies.
You could also try using an anti-aircraft gun.
The Hind is armed with a 12.7mm machine gun on the nose and rocket pods and anti-tank missiles on the stub wing hardpoints. Normally, you'd be crazy to try and fight it on foot. If it starts attacking with the machine gun or the rockets, take cover behind something as fast as you can. As for the missiles, you should be able to knock out their guidance system by using a chaff grenade to block the radio signal. Your assault rifle won't penetrate the Hind's armor. Eva said there was an RPG-7 in those mountains, right? With an RPG-7, you might stand a chance against the Hind. Go find it. If you can take over one of the anti-aircraft guns in the mountains, you'll be more than a match for that Hind. The Hind is a transport attack chopper that can carry personnel. It might drop some troops on you. Don't get caught off guard. The Hind is protected by heavy armor, but a rifle bullet might be able to penetrate through the cockpit canopy. Try using the SVD. Snake, you see that anti-aircraft gun? That's a ZU-23, a light towable anti-aircraft gun that the Soviets started producing in 1957. It was designed for deployment in airborne units and motorized rifle divisions without their own self-propelled anti-air guns. It's got two 23mm air-cooled automatic cannons with a firing rate of 800 rounds per minute. They usually take a 6-man crew to operate, but you ought to be able to handle one by yourself. In addition to shooting at low-flying aircraft, you can also use them as machine guns to target light-armored land vehicles. I imagine they'd be more than a match for that new attack chopper of theirs, too. You're using an RPG-7, huh? The RPG-7 is a state-of-the-art, portable anti-tank weapon developed as the successor to the RPG-2. It first saw active deployment in 1962, year before last. Actually, maybe portable is not the right word. The launcher and the grenade together weigh over 20 pounds. It's not something you can use on the move. When you equip it, make sure you use first-person view to aim.
Got it.
You can fire it as soon as you're in position, but if you use the aim button to look through the scope, you should be able to get a pretty accurate shot. Then just use the weapon button to pull the trigger, and the propellant will shoot the grenade out of the launcher. Immediately after that, stabilizer fins will deploy from the back of the grenade. After it travels about 35 feet, the rocket fuel inside the grenade will ignite, accelerating the grenade towards its target. Even if it doesn't hit the target, the safety mechanism will kick in and cause it to self-destruct when it exceeds the target range or after a few seconds of flight. The warhead is made of the plastic explosive heat. It's capable of penetrating up to 13 inches of armor. That should be enough to shoot down a heavily armored attack chopper. Oh, one more thing. The rocket fires when the grenade first starts its descent, so don't try to fire it real close to the ground.
So you can't use it from a lying position.
Right. Don't forget that.
I won't. Major, I saw that Tatiana woman again.
We've been analyzing our data, but so far we've been unable to find anyone matching that description. Maybe her posting was so obscure that we simply overlooked it.
Or maybe she's such a VIP that all the data on her has been classified.
That's a possibility, but I'd be tempted to go with the first explanation. We'll keep going over the data.
Thanks.
Snake, watch out for enemy troops carrying flamethrowers. Under no circumstances should you get close to the flame troops. Either sneak by without being seen, or take them out from a distance.
You seen any enemies equipped with flamethrowers? Those flamethrowers are M2s. They were first used in World War II during the invasion of Guam. The M2 uses pressurized nitrogen gas to fire a fuel mixture of napalm and gasoline. It comes in handy for torching places that are tough to secure with conventional firepower, like trenches and bunkers and pillbox enclosures. Watch out, though. Get hit by a flamethrower in a narrow spot like a closet or a trench, and it's barbecue time. Don't wander too close to an enemy carrying a flamethrower. If you need to take one out, try sniping from a distance so the flames can't reach you.
What are they doing with American-made flamethrowers anyway?
Well, like a lot of other Western weapons, those M2s were probably jacked for research purposes. But if they're actually using them, man, they must really have it in for you.
What do you mean?
The flamethrower is heavy, short-ranged, and can only be used for a short period of time. Not only that, but when a flame trooper gets captured, he's almost always put to death. Basically, it's a bad idea all the way around to use flamethrowers unless you're sweeping. And despite all that, they're keeping them at the ready just for you. What do you think of it?
They're out for revenge.
Well, you've killed 3 members of the Cobra unit already, so you can see why Vogan has it in for you. That's not an ordinary flamethrower the Fury's using. Normally, flamethrowers use a mixture of napalm and gasoline for fuel. But from what I hear, that guy is using liquid rocket fuel. I'm guessing it's probably a mixture of UDHM, unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine, and NTO, nitrogen tetroxide. I'm sure you've seen how potent that stuff is.
Snake, what? The tunnel looks like it's getting pretty hot. That's what happens when you use such a powerful flamethrower in an enclosed space. In that kind of heat, you'll lose stamina more quickly than normal. Be sure to eat something to replenish your stamina before you get too exhausted to fight.
My suit! Feel the burning!
You broke through the Fury's flameproof suit? Now grenades and white phosphorus should work on it. You can also try blowing up a drum when he's standing next to it.
The other side of that door is blocked by rubble as a result of the Fury's explosion. You won't be able to open it. Forget about it and continue your mission.
The name Groznyj Grad means the terrible fortress. And that's exactly what it is. An impregnable monster of a fortress built using Colonel Volgan's enormous fortune. In the center of the fortress is a weapons lab that acts as the nerve center of the place. In the southeast, there's a prison. In the northwest, there's an armory. And in the northeast, there's a provision storehouse. The weapons lab in the center is where Groznyj, Sokolov, and their fellow scientists carry out their high-tech weapons research. The flying platform and attack chopper you saw are 2 of their accomplishments. And now they're about to finish the work on the Shagohod. They call it the Terrible Fortress for a reason.
The armored vehicle you see there is a BTR-152. The BTR-152 is an armored personnel carrier that was first developed in 1948. The design was based on the ZIL-151, a medium-sized 6-axle truck. It was supposedly created primarily for use in motorized rifle divisions. Besides the standard 2-man crew, it can carry up to 17 fully armed personnel in its personnel transport chamber. But stealing an armored transport and driving it around isn't part of the mission, bruh. Just leave it alone and keep going. Hey, those tanks look like Object 279s.
Object 279s?
Yep. We don't have a lot of details yet, but apparently they're a kind of heavy tank designed to operate in situations involving the use of tactical nuclear weapons. They're distinguished by 2 sets of double treads and a disc-shaped shield, which keep it from flipping over in a nuclear blast. Basically, the 4 treads widen the traction area and increase friction with the ground, while the disc-shaped shield deflects the blast above and below the vehicle. The tank is armed with a 130mm cannon. It's also got a 1,000-horsepower diesel engine, which gives it a decent top speed. As far as we knew, it hadn't been formally adopted because of the high cost of production. But it looks like we were wrong. Anyway, those don't seem to be ready for deployment yet. You don't need to worry about them going anywhere. Just keep moving.
The security in Groznyj Grad is tight. Watch out for the searchlights in particular. If you get caught square in one of the lights, no matter how good your camouflage is, they'll spot you. Make sure you stay out of those circles of light. The only way for you to sneak into the east wing of the weapons lab is through the entrance. Speaking of which, I sometimes see trucks going in and out through there. If you can sneak onto one of those trucks somehow... There are scientists in the east wing. Almost all of them were taken here against their will, like Sokolov. If they see you, they probably won't attack you. But they can still get you in trouble by yelling for help or pressing the alarm switches on the walls. So you should be watching out for scientists as well as enemy grunts.
I see you're equipped with a Scorpion. The Scorpion is a new type of small submachine gun made in Czechoslovakia.
I've heard of it, but...
But you never used one, right? Well, they only started making it 3 years ago, after all. There are a bunch of different models of Scorpion. What kind of rounds does that one take?
32 ACP.
Then it's gotta be the VZ-61. The Scorpion is different from a lot of other submachine guns in that it operates on a closed bolt system. So you get a high degree of precision even when firing in semi-auto mode. Another special feature on the Scorpion is the rate reducer, a mechanism that also functions as a shock absorber. What it does is lock the bolt in place for a split second when it's in the rearward position. That keeps the firing rate down to a reasonable level, and also helps make the gun easier to control when firing in full auto mode. The Scorpion's firing rate is 750 rounds per minute. It ought to be a heck of a lot easier to control than the Mach 11, which has a rate of 1,200 rounds per minute. You should be able to handle it with one hand no problem in semi-auto mode. In full auto mode, you could probably manage short bursts. And it looks like that one's fitted with a laser sight, too. The Soviets probably developed this one on their own. You can't use the aim button to aim from the shoulder, but with the laser sight accuracy, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Okay, you're disguised as Rykov. You ought to be able to pass for the real deal in that outfit. You can go anywhere you want, and nobody's going to ask questions.
Snake, that door leads to the hangar. It's where they're making adjustments to the Shagohod. But you can't open it unless you have the key. I'll get the key for you soon enough, but in the meantime, you should rescue Sokolov first. Head for the West Wing.
Major, I'm sorry. Sokolov, I couldn't...
Don't say it. You weren't able to rescue him, but that doesn't mean your mission has failed yet. Eva said they've completed Phase 2. There is no time left. You must destroy the Shagohod at all costs. That will be our final tribute to him.
Right.
Snake, I wanted to ask you something.
What?
In the torture room, why did you protect me when Ocelot was about to fire?
Because I knew that the chamber wasn't empty, and you'd be dead if he pulled the trigger.
But your eye...
I was tied up, and it happened so fast. It was the best I could do. I feel a little strange, but it won't interfere with the mission.
What about me?
Huh?
Did you only save me because I was important for completing your mission?
What other reason would there be?
And when the mission is over?
Right now, it's just the mission.
The mission you used to love?
That's not what I mean.
Snake, the door to that cell is the kind that opens in response to a specific radio frequency.
A specific radio frequency?
Right. You should be able to open it by using your radio to send a signal on the key frequency.
Sounds good. Do you know the frequency?
I'll try and find out. Give me a minute. Snake, I found out the frequency that opens the door. It's 144.75. Stand in front of the door and send a message on frequency 144.75.
Snake, I remember it now. The frequency was 144.75. I'm sure of it. Stand in front of the door and use your radio to send a signal on 144.75.
Major, I dug out the bullet the boss shot into me.
Yes?
There was a fake death pill inside.
A fake death pill?
Yeah. What does it mean?
I haven't a clue. I wonder if it's meant to help you escape from the cell.
You're saying the boss was trying to help me? But why?
If you don't know, how am I supposed to know? Snake, you say you've discovered a transmitter?
Yeah, it was buried in a wound. I think Ocelot did it. He must have been expecting me to escape from that cell.
And you didn't disappoint him?
Of course not. Major, I found a door.
That's the escape route Eva was talking about. Can you get it open?
No.
Then it's been sealed off after all. Snake, forget about getting through the door. Do as Eva says and head north.
That area is known as Tiko Gorny. It means the tranquil mountain ridge in Russian. Like the name says, it's the most beautiful riverbank in the region of Groznyj Grad. If you go upstream, you'll come to a waterfall. I'll meet you in the cave behind that waterfall. Make your way up the river.
Snake, are you being pursued by the enemy?
Yeah, it's the Ocelot unit.
Even taking into account the time you were unconscious, it's still too early for them to have caught up to you. It's almost as if they know exactly where you are. In any case, you can't launch a counterattack until you meet Eva and get your gear back. Just shake them off and head behind the waterfall.
Snake, are you being pursued by the enemy?
Yeah, it's the Ocelots again.
They shouldn't have been able to catch up with you this fast. It's almost as if they know your exact position. Anyway, hurry to the waterfall. Once we meet up, we can do something about those enemies on your tail. Keep heading up the river.
That idea Sokolov had of planting C3 on the liquid fuel tanks. Not a bad idea. The fuel he was referring to is probably UDMH, unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine. It's highly flammable but difficult to handle. If you can blow it all up at once with C3, it'll take the entire weapons lab with it, no doubt. But that's only if you manage to plant the C3 in the right place on each tank. So don't screw it up. Got some C3, I see. C3 is a type of plastic explosive developed in the West for special operations use following World War II. It's composed of 77% RDX and 23% moldable plastic. Like Eva was saying, you can mold it into different shapes like clay. C3 is less volatile than TNT, so a little heat or shock won't be enough to set it off. It's extremely easy to handle and highly effective. Looks like Eva set up the detonators with a special timer mechanism.
Yeah, she made it so that when the timer hits 0, all 4 charges will detonate at the same time.
Did she now? Then you better wait until you plant all 4 charges on the liquid fuel tanks before you start the timer. And remember, you only have enough C3 to do the job. Don't go sticking that stuff anywhere but the liquid fuel tanks in the hangar. Got it?
Got it. Eva, remember how you said today was a day of rest for the scientists in the hangar?
Yeah?
What did you mean by that?
Until yesterday, there were tons of scientists and maintenance personnel working in the hangar. But because Volgan was forcing them to work day and night, a lot of the scientists were collapsing from exhaustion. So now that the prototype is finished and things are a little less hectic, they gave the scientists a day to rest.
I see.
If they were still working like that, it would have been impossible for you to sneak into the hangar. But this doesn't mean the hangar is completely deserted. I'm pretty sure there are still a few guards and maintenance personnel left. Stay alert.
Eva, that Shagohod data you got from Sokolov.
Uh-huh.
Are you really going to give it to Khrushchev?
You think I'm going to answer that?
I know I want you to answer me.
You're asking me for something I can't give you. Snake, I have a mission to carry out, just like you. Please, try to understand.
Eva, about the escape plan.
Yeah, we're getting out on a wig.
The ground effect vehicle.
Right. Here they call it an acranoplan.
The Soviet Union has already finished testing one of those?
No, this is just the prototype given to Groznyj. It was designed to search out and destroy American submarines. That's why it has a long range and a decent speed of 470 miles per hour. It's far beyond the BE-1 developed 3 years ago. The problem for us is that the one here doesn't have any weapons on board. If we're tailed, our only choice is to try and shake them.
I'll leave that to you.
Sorry if I won't have the time to play stewardess for you.
Sigint,
Yo,
Eva said she set up a ground effect vehicle for us to make our escape.
so I heard. The ground effect vehicle, or WIG, is something like a cross between an airplane and a boat. It uses ground effect to fly. Ground effect basically means that when the craft skims the surface of the ground, the air between the ground and the wing is compressed, which gives the wing an extra boost. From what Western intelligence agencies have been able to gather, the Russians are pretty serious about developing these WIGs. Apparently, they're planning on using them for anti-submarine patrols. I guess I can see why. The WIG's long cruising range and high-speed capabilities make it a good choice for that kind of mission. Eva must have gotten her hands on one of the first prototypes while it was being field tested as a transport craft. The WIG has a top speed of over 400 miles per hour, and its range is pretty good too. Not that speed is gonna help you if you've got a supersonic fighter jet on your tail, but if you hug the surface and stay off the radar, you should have no problems getting away.
Eva,
What's up?
about our escape plan.
Uh-huh.
How exactly are you planning to get to the lake?
What? Don't you trust me?
That's not what I meant.
Okay then, I'll explain it to you. To the north of Groznyj Grad, there's a forest called Lazarevo. The name Lazarevo means the lush green earth. On the other side of Lazarevo is a large forest called Zauzyorye. Zauzyorye means near the lake in Russian. The lake is just beyond Zauzyorye. And the name of that lake is Rokovoy Biereg, the Lake of Destiny.
That's where you hid the WIG?
Yeah, we'll use it to make our getaway. Once we've completed our missions, that is. Aha! You disguised yourself as one of the maintenance crew. Dressed like that, you should be able to go anywhere you want in the hangar. Don't go doing anything suspicious like rolling around or crawling. And if the maintenance crew gets a good look at your face, they'll know you're not one of them. If the maintenance crew gets suspicious, turn around so they can't see your face and act casual. If the guards get suspicious, just stand still and you should be fine.
You're wearing a maintenance crew uniform? With the maintenance crew uniform on, you can pretend you're one of the workers assigned to the Shagohod hangar. But people are going to suspect something's up if you suddenly get down on your belly or start punching somebody. Don't do anything that'll draw suspicion.
You've planted one C3 charge. That leaves 3 more.
How are things on your end?
I'm planting the C3 on the rail bridge now. Don't screw up, okay?
Hey, not a problem. Major, they found the C3.
I heard. But I don't think they've found all of them yet. And even if they have found them, they may not be able to disarm them. Don't worry about the C3. Concentrate on defeating Vulcan.
Major.
Snake, are you all right?
Yeah,
The explosion went off successfully.
yeah, but the hangar is still standing.
The explosion was smaller than what we had hoped for because the fuel tanks didn't catch on fire.
But the fuel tanks were definitely...
Remember how the enemy spotted the C3 while you were busy with Vulcan? They must have called in the EOD to remove the fuel from the tanks then. But still, the C3 alone should have been enough to take out the manufacturing line. That'll probably be the last one they'll ever make. You succeeded in preventing its mass production.
Snake, if you can take out the Shagohod that Vulcan's in, the world will be safe from that monstrosity of a weapon. But you won't be able to take it down with the weapons you have on you. You have to come up with something else. It's time to rethink your plan of attack. First, get out of there. You need to shake your pursuers. Snake, leave the driving to Eva. You concentrate on fending off your pursuers and clearing the way for her. Don't worry about running out of ammunition. The sidecar seems to be loaded with plenty of it. Use first-person view to eliminate your attackers.
Major, we're about to head for the rail bridge.
So I heard. You're going to take out the bridge and the Shagohod with it, eh? Nice plan. Let Eva do the driving. Concentrate on fending off your pursuers. You've got to make it to that bridge somehow. It looks like the Shagohod's fallen quite far behind. You're in the barracks area now. In just a few moments, you'll come upon Groznyj Grad's northern runway. Keep going. You're almost there. Good. You've reached the runway. The rail bridge is just up ahead. You've got to hold on until you reach the bridge.
Major, the Shagohod.
Yes, I know. Pummel the Shagohod with the RPG-7. Even if you can't destroy it, you should at least be able to slow it down. Whatever you do, don't let it catch up to you. Snake, the Shagohod is coming up behind you. It'll overtake you unless you do something. Attack it with the RPG-7. You might not be able to destroy it, but you can certainly slow it down.
Snake, snipe the C3 bombs planted on the rail bridge to blow it up. Normally, C3 is a chemically stable material. It's only when it receives a shock from the outside that it turns into an explosive. Eva's probably set those bombs up with detonators so they go off when they're disturbed by something. She must have done it to prevent them from being disarmed. Man, she thought of everything. Shooting those C3 bombs should set off the detonators and take the bridge down. Either the SVD or the RPG-7 would be good for this job. If you're really a hotshot, you can use an assault rifle or a handgun too. Just don't let me catch you using a tranquilizer gun. Clear your mind and focus on making the shot.
Snake, when the Shagohod approaches the bridge, that's your cue to start sniping the C3 bombs planted on the struts. Use the SVD. Eva has planted a total of 4 bombs. Concentrate on your target. You must destroy the bridge before the Shagohod makes it across.
Farther down! Down! 3 more bombs left.
3 more to go.
Up! Right! 2 more left.
2 more to go.
A little more to the left. Only 1 more left.
1 more left.
It's here!
Hurry, Snake. The Shagohod is about to reach the other side. Shoot the C3 bombs quickly.
Snake, the Shagohod. There's no time left. Blow up the bridge, quick.
Snake, the Shagohod is about to cross the bridge. There's no time to lose. Hurry up and snipe those bombs.
Got it.
Snake, you've got to make it to the lake. Leave the driving to Eva like before, and stay vigilant. The enemy is still in pursuit. Snake, you've got to make it to the lake somehow. She's waiting for you.
I know.
Snake, you're almost to the lake. Hold on just a little longer.
Snake, you must shoot the fallen logs and branches that block your path. Follow Eva's instructions. Snake, the engine seems to have caught on fire.
We're almost out of fuel, too. But it only needs to get us to the lake. Just a little further.
Hang in there. Snake, the boss is waiting for you at the lake.
I know.
That's all I can tell you. Finish the mission, Snake.
Yeah.
That gun the boss is using is a one-of-a-kind sidearm she had made especially for her. They call it the Patriot. Basically, they took the Army's experimental XM16E1, cut the barrel short, and took off the stock. It handles like a handgun, but it's got the stopping power of a rifle. Because the barrel is cut so short, it's got some nasty recoil, though. I can't believe she's using it with one hand. Now I see why she's the leader of the Cobras and a legendary hero. So the boss called in the MiGs. The MiGs the boss called in are probably MiG-21s, a Soviet frontline fighter. They can be equipped with rocket pods and bombs for air-to-ground attacks. If the MiGs dump napalm on you, you can kiss your ass goodbye. You gotta beat the boss before that happens.
You know, they're coming out with household versions of video cassette recorders. One day you'll be able to see old movies anytime you want. It'll be like having a movie theater in your own home.
Really?
It's like if you had a record with movie film etched onto it instead of music. It'll work the same way.
You're kidding.
No, really. And someday they might make movies where you control the characters yourself.
Sounds like magic.
It'll happen. Make sure you stay alive to see it, Snake.